Hello and welcome to this CXL feed on pricing. My name is Rosie Hogg-Maskell. I'm a product growth consultant for early stage startups. I work on monetization, conversion, CRM, and the whole user journey. In this lesson, we're going to go through pricing changes, how to do them and how to communicate them. So throughout the lesson, we'll go through lots of different examples and come out with 5 do's and 5 don'ts about your next pricing change. But first, why now and why is it important? It's no surprise that over the past few years, we've seen significant headwinds in Europe in terms of startup funding. There's been a massive slowdown and we're not seeing as many startups get funded as they used to. That is why it is so much more important to make sure that you have good unit economics, you have good lifetime value per customer, and you're making sure that you're building a viable business. So monetization is a huge part of this, but it's funny enough that it's not actually something that's talked about as much as other parts of growth and CRO. A study by Profitwell looked at 10,000 articles on growth across the internet, and they found out that 7 out of 10 were on acquisition, and only 1 out of 10 was on monetization. So it's this topic area that is super important right now, but not necessarily talked about as much as it could be. In terms of the impact that changing monetization can have on the business, so this same study looked at a whole load of initiatives on acquisition and a whole load of initiatives on monetization, and they found that when moving monetization, you had 4x the impact on average than acquisition. So we're talking more about acquisition, it's harder to move, and actually monetization is where you can get much bigger gains and is much more important at this point. So what we're going to go through is examples of price changes. What's really important with price changes, and is lesson number 1, is let people know. So if you have an iOS app, for example, you'll get the automated price change emails from Apple or Google. If a user gets an automated price change from Stripe, say it's Apple, say it's Google, that is not where you want to be. So lesson 1, if you're thinking about doing a price change, you need to let your users know first. You will see that this is an example from AllTrails. So AllTrails was increasing their price from £30 to £36. And the first time I heard about this price increase was the automated email. That is not what you want to do. You want to make sure that your customers have loads of time in advance to make sure that they know what's happening and what price you're changing to. So first off, tell your customers. I'll tell you about a time where I got a price rise email recently and it wasn't the best practice. So I just signed up to this new tool. It was called Zwift. It's where you put your bike onto a trainer and you can train indoors over winter. It's the start of summer, so I wasn't quite sure if I needed it, but I signed up anyway. About a month later, I probably had a couple of cycles, I got this email. Important changes to your subscription. Hey Rosie, we're writing to inform you of changes to your Zwift subscription pricing. The monthly Zwift price is going to go to £17. Your first payment will be the next date. We hope you're enjoying Zwift. We're going to make the app better. Thank you. Now, for me as a new user, I hadn't used it very much. I hadn't quite got value out of it, and I wasn't actually sure how much I was paying. So while Zwift has done a good thing here and actually telling me before it happens, there's a few things they could have done better, and we're going to go through a few examples of other companies that have done this price rise communication a lot better. Here is one called Who Gives a Crap. So Who Gives a Crap is a D2C toilet paper subscription business. And so what I love about this price rise email is the fact that it's personal and it's authentic. It's from the CEO and it gives you the background. It gives you more information and context around the price rise. So it could be delivering more value. It could be building new features. So it's a good thing that Who Gives a Crap has given a heads up. They've given you the communication ahead of time. It's authentic. It's from the CEO. If you compare that to the Zwift one is quite faceless. It's quite nameless. It's just, thank you, ride on. Whereas this one is from the CEO. What Who Gives a Crap don't do as well as some other examples we'll see in a sec is get to the point. There's a lot of beating around the bush here. It goes back to the whole history of the company. And realistically, as a user, I want to know what's happening. I want to know the price and I want to know quite quickly. It's like when someone calls you and says, I've got the good news and the bad news, and it kind of beats around the bush. So you want to make sure you're getting the comms to them and you want to make sure you're being specific. What I love about Bulb's example is it does just that and it tells you exactly how much. So Bulb is actually no longer around, but they increased their prices in November 2018 and this was the email. Changes to prices. Hello, in August we said we might need to increase prices and we do. This means your energy costs will be £8.60 more each month. Wholesale energy prices have continued to rise. So they get to the point and they give you context. And another great thing is that they do an FAQ. So as a user, I'm like, okay, my price has gone up. What's next? When is it? Will they come down again? Will it always be that? I'm on the best deal. There's so many questions that I have. And if you as a company, you don't hit those head on, then you're much less likely to keep people on your subscription and you're much more likely to churn. So tell them ahead of time, be crystal clear, be authentic, but also be concise. We don't want the whole company story, just like who gives a crap. So the last one is the why. What you don't want to do with price increases is just blame inflation, because this makes it feel like you haven't built a good business. Instead, what you want to do is you want to communicate the value that they're going to get with this extra price. And so that's something that Urban Massages does really well. So here we've got some context. They get straight to the point. And then where will the extra money go? And this is the bit that I think is really important. To keep us sustainable, we have to increase our prices. 62% of the price will go directly to your pro. So this could be someone who's massaging you. And that directness, that context, you build trust with the user. And so a price change, especially a price rise, people are quite scared of price rises, but it's a really cool opportunity for you to be able to communicate value as well as reiterate your value proposition and actually build trust with the user. So any of these moments you can turn to your advantage. Urban Massages is one of my favorite examples. It is slightly long, but in terms of the price rise email examples, it's one of the best ones. To summarize the do's and the don'ts of the price rise emails. Do communicate the why. What future value will you create for your customer with this extra money? Get to the point. We don't want a whole ceremony and we don't want a whole essay. Give advance notice. So if it's just from the next subscription date, that's not good enough. Be transparent. So be clear on the price. So if you're saying we're going up to £20, what was the original price? Because if you don't say it, they will find out, and it's much better to come from you. And then the last one is be human. So sign off from a person or a founder. There's nothing worse than a faceless, we are increasing price email. In terms of the don'ts, we've seen a lot of these. Don't blame inflation. Instead, use it as a chance to tell your value. Don't tell your life story. Don't secretly up the price like all trails did. Send beforehand. And lastly, don't talk like a robot. We need some authenticity in these emails. So, in summary, monetization is massively overlooked. Most companies are underpricing, and it's super important right now to make sure that you're pricing right and to test different prices. While you do that, make sure that you inform your customers and use it as an amazing chance to actually build brand with them instead. So I challenge you now to go into your inbox and search for we're increasing our prices or prices, price rise, price increases. Do a few different searches and see how many you can find. Have a look at the 5 do's and 5 don'ts. What do companies do wrong? What do they do right? So have a go and let me know what you find. Bye.